Hello friends, in this video lecture we are going to discuss about the differences in between anaerobic and aerobic respiration. This is lecture number 2 from breathing and gaseous exchange of human physiology class 11th. So this is anaerobic, this is aerobic, and here these are the characters on the basis of which we have to differentiate in between. So first is about chemical equation. As we know, respiration is simply oxidation of food that may take place in presence or in absence of oxygen. If this occurring in absence of oxygen, this is known as anaerobic, or if this occurs in presence of oxygen, known as aerobic. So first, this is here about equation of anaerobic reaction. In this case, this glucose is getting oxidized here in the form of lactic acid. This lactic acid formation occurs in muscles, that may be in skeletal muscles of human beings as well as other animals muscles too, which are endoparasites, like as in case of tapeworm, as in case of roundworm. So here this is lactic acid, that is a 3 carbon compound, and here this is glucose, which is a 6 carbon compound. So there will be formation of 2 molecules of lactic acid. Now there may be also another type of anaerobic respiration where lactic acid is not getting produced, but in place of that there will be production of alcohol and carbon dioxide. Alcohol, this is ethyl alcohol, 2 carbon compound. So here there will also be release of carbon dioxide. So both are 2 in number. Now during this process there will also be release of energy, and this energy is getting stored in form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate, that also known as energy currency of the cell. While during aerobic respiration, this is glucose, and in presence of oxygen, this glucose is getting converted into carbon dioxide, water, and the energy released during the process by the breaking of carbon to carbon bond is getting stored in form of ATP, that is 38 ATP. So what we can see here, during anaerobic respiration, if production of lactic acid is there is no release of CO2, while here CO2 release is there if product is alcohol, while here the whole carbon of glucose is getting converted into carbon dioxide. It means here is complete oxidation of food, while here incomplete oxidation of food is there. On the basis of these 2 equations, we can simply define rest of the properties of aerobic as well as anaerobic. So this is second, oxygen requirement. Here, as we discussed earlier, during anaerobic there is no need of oxygen for the process, while during aerobic we discuss here oxygen need is there. Now the third one is about site where these 2 reactions are going on or taking place. So anaerobic respiration, this taking place in cytoplasm of the cell, while for aerobic respiration there is need of mitochondria too along with cytoplasm. So here there is need of cytoplasm with mitochondria, but this requires only cytoplasm. Next one is about the mechanism. During anaerobic respiration there is only glycolysis, which also known as EMP cycle. This also known as EMP cycle or EMP pathway that occurs here in cytoplasm. During this cycle, the glucose is getting converted into pyruvic acid, that is also a 3 carbon compound, and that pyruvic acid later on converted into alcohol or lactic acid. While here in case of aerobic respiration there is glycolysis, link reaction, Krebs cycle, electron transport system or electron transport chain. Out of these 4, the first one, glycolysis, same like this, is occurring in cytoplasm, while the next three reactions, link reaction, Krebs cycle, electron transport system or electron transport chain, is taking place in mitochondria. As we discussed, here is need of mitochondria during aerobic respiration. Now next, this is about end product. So here we discuss during anaerobic respiration, the end product is lactic acid, or this may be ethyl alcohol or carbon dioxide. So here this is lactic acid or alcohol. Along with lactic acid, here there is no CO2 production, but along with alcohol, carbon dioxide release is always there, and this is very important. Along with lactic acid, there is no release of carbon dioxide. Why? Because this is already a 3 carbon compound. So 2 molecules of this ethyl alcohol is a 2 carbon compound. So 2 into 2 4, still there is 2 carbon left. So this is 2 CO2 in form of 2 carbon. While during aerobic respiration, the final product or end product is carbon dioxide along with water. Now next is about the energy production. So as we discussed earlier, here during anaerobic only 2 ATP energy is getting stored, while during aerobic respiration 38 ATP energy is stored. Next is about carbon dioxide production. So here CO2 production may be as in case of this, or CO2 production may not be as in case of this. One more thing, lactic acid formation or ethyl alcohol formation, if this occurs in microorganism, this also known as fermentation. Anaerobic respiration in case of microbes like bacteria, like yeast, is also known as fermentation. There is term like lactic acid fermentation, lactic acid fermentation, lactic acid bacteria. So this causes lactic acid formation. Yeast, this causes conversion of glucose into alcohol that used in bakery as well as alcohol industry. So for microbes like yeast and bacteria, anaerobic respiration also known as fermentation. While here in this case, if we discuss, there will always be release of carbon dioxide. Here this is 6 CO2. So earlier we discussed, here complete oxidation occurs during aerobic respiration of glucose. Now the last one is about the examples. What are the organisms where anaerobic respiration occurs and aerobic respiration? So anaerobic bacteria, yeast, endoparasites which are present in intestine like tapeworm, roundworm, RBCs. So mature RBCs are the only that is lacking mitochondria. So no mitochondria, that's why no link reaction, Krebs cycle and ETS. So RBCs, the functional one which are involved in transportation of O2 and CO2, they can only respirate anaerobically, while the young ones or newly formed RBCs, they have mitochondria, and that's why they involve aerobically. Next, skeletal muscles of human beings as well as animals of these endoparasites, they have anaerobic respiration, while aerobic respiration performed by majority of the organism. Here may also be a number of bacteria which is known as aerobic bacteria. There is also majority of the plants as well as most of the animals. They all have aerobic type of respiration. Now about external and internal respiration. So what are the differences here? External respiration, as we discussed, this also known as breathing, while internal respiration is also known as cellular respiration. So here this is again the characteristics. This is external and this side internal respiration. So first about the site. External respiration, this always occurs at the respiratory surface. In case of human beings, the respiratory surface is alveoli of lungs, while here internal respiration, that also known as cellular respiration or tissue respiration. So this occurs at cell or tissue level. Now about the exchange of gases. Here during external respiration or breathing, oxygen of air or atmosphere is getting exchanged with carbon dioxide of blood. So oxygen comes inside when there is inhaling, and carbon dioxide just passes out by the blood from the respective cells or tissues after the process of cellular respiration. While during internal respiration or cellular respiration, this oxygen of blood is getting exchanged with carbon dioxide of cell and tissue. This oxygen is taken from here alveoli with the help of respiratory pigment, that is hemoglobin, up to particular cells or tissue, and by that cells or tissue there will be release of carbon dioxide. At the same time, by the process of diffusion there will be mutual exchange. Now the third one is about nature of chemical reaction. Here external respiration or breathing, this is a very physical process, means here there is no involvement of any enzyme. This is given here, enzyme involvement is absent. Simply this is entering of air and exiting of air through the alveoli of lungs. While here internal respiration or cellular respiration is a biochemical or physiochemical process. Why? Because here there is involvement of a number of enzymes in cytoplasm. As we discussed, this occurs inside the cell. So here in cytoplasm there is a number of enzymes that will perform glycolysis, and in mitochondria too, if the process is aerobic respiration, then again in mitochondria there is enzymes for link reaction, that is also known as oxidative decarboxylation. There is also enzyme for Krebs cycle. So this is a biochemical or physiochemical process. Without enzyme, internal respiration can never be completed. That's why this is biochemical. And here this is about energy release. So during external respiration or breathing, there is no energy production. Why? Because there is no oxidation of food. There is no breaking of carbon to carbon bond. That's why no energy releases during external respiration or breathing. While here during internal or cellular respiration, or we can say intracellular respiration, oxidation of food is there. That's why there will be release of energy. As we discussed earlier, internal respiration may be of two types, aerobic as well as anaerobic. We earlier discussed the differences. During aerobic there will be release of 38 ATP, while during anaerobic there will be release of 2 ATP energy. Now about the characteristics of respiratory surfaces. So here this is given. First, what are respiratory surface? So these are the regions that may be outside the body, as in case of unicellular animals like protozoa, their plasma membrane is functioning as a respiratory surface, or in higher organisms like human beings, this is alveoli or cell membrane of individual cells. They are also performing as a respiratory surface. So this is the region where gaseous exchange is occurring. Exchange of gases, this is mainly because of diffusion. So the characteristics of respiratory surfaces is also following the principles of diffusion. As we know, diffusion always occurs from higher concentration to lower concentration. So same thing is here. These are the characteristics that must be present for a respiratory surface for increasing the efficiency. So first, surface must be very thin. If surface is thin, then gaseous exchange is easy. Thick surface reduces the process of gaseous exchange efficiency. Second, the surface must be permeable for respiratory gases. What are respiratory gases? So as we know, oxygen and carbon dioxide. Oxygen taken in, CO2 taken out. Now the third one, the surface must be moist. Moist surface also increases the process of diffusion. Next, respiratory surface must carry large surface area. More surface area, more gaseous exchange or diffusion. So if we discuss here, in case of human beings, the body surface of human, that is the surface area of skin, if we discuss, this is nearly 1.8 meter square. At the same time, if we discuss the alveolar surface area inside the lungs, this is 80 plus meter square. So here there is huge difference, and when we move from simpler to complex organism, the surface area is gradually increases because of more number of cells and more complexity. Fifth, surface area must be highly vascular. Vascular here means highly coordinated with blood vessels. If there is huge blood vessels, then as in case of human beings, the alveoli are highly enriched with blood vessels. So blood is carrier along with their respective pigments. So if more vascular system is there, then there will be more efficient gaseous exchange. Next, if there is direct contact of respiratory surface with the respiratory gases for oxygen and carbon dioxide, this will also improve the process of respiratory efficiency. Seventh point, if there is presence of respiratory pigment, as in case of human beings there is hemoglobin, this also very efficiently increases the oxygen and carbon dioxide transportation. So these properties must be there for increasing the efficiency of respiratory process. Thanks for watching and keep connected for next more coming videos.